Okay, I know I'm calling shit out on myself using a title like this, using a thumbnail like this, but please hear me out. I really want to explain to you what it means to decenter men, how you can use it for your benefit, and also how it will benefit men to decenter men. And also, I'm going to talk about the shadow side of the feminine energy, the shadow side of women, also in this video. So this is not a man-hating video at all. I'm just trying to help you see in what kind of system we are living in, what kind of conditionings we are living in, and how these conditionings and this system is very oppressive and emotionally immature in its nature, and how it is already from a very young age asking of us to suppress who we truly are and to conform to some kind or certain gender role that is really not helping us fulfill our true potential and create change on this planet. So a couple of years ago, I met someone who became some sort of mentor or guide in my life and who really helped me see where I was still not my authentic self, where I was still trying to gain and to win external validation, where I was still trying to do my best to make everybody like me, for example. I didn't have any real boundaries. I was a true people pleaser. I was a perfectionist. I still am, but I am so much more aware of these relationship mechanisms, why I created them, when they were created, and how I use those mechanisms to continuously self-abandon, to abandon myself, and to continuously be busy with external validation seeking. And this person helped me see that using these mechanisms was really not respectful towards myself and towards others, but I will get back to that later. But it was also really stealing me almost from my life force energy. It made me suppress all kinds of authentic parts of myself that I really needed to feel powerful, to feel confident, to feel courageous in my life. And I suppressed the energy that I needed to take up space and to manifest and create the visions that I had inside myself, and to create the dreams that I had, and to take up space on this planet. So already when I was a very little girl, I noticed that I didn't feel really at home in the gender roles that were present, or the gender conditioning almost that was present in our society. This doesn't mean that I want to be a man and do not feel a woman. I really, really feel that I am a woman, and I am proud of it. I love to be a woman. I love women. I admire them so much. I love men. I admire them so much. I really respect both our genders. It's just that I did not feel at home in the societal conditioning of what it means to be a woman or a man. I really found that it was almost disrespectful in some way, and also really making us very small and it was a very narrow-minded perspective of what it means to be a woman or a man. And I really didn't feel at home in our society in this gender role or these norms or this conditioning. I remember wearing a red t-shirt. I'm so sad I don't have it anymore. And I was very, very little, but I remember wearing a t-shirt with wanted good man, or who likes to cook, clean, etc. And I know already back then I wore it like a joke, because to me it felt so narrow that a man should do this and this and this and this, and a woman should do this and this and this and this. And I just didn't feel at home in those roles, right? In that conditioning. Neither in the one for men and neither the one for women. And I also knew from a very young age that I wasn't the traditional woman. I didn't desire or admire to be a mother or to have a family. I wanted to travel the world, to explore, to go on adventures. I really felt like breaking the cycle of the family, of my female lineage, all the women that came before me who had a lot of trauma and a lot of suffering and a lot of heaviness, and who felt trapped in their roles that they had to play as women to stay safe, to survive, because they didn't believe there was any other way, because they didn't have the means or the resources or the self-trust and worthiness to get out of that feeling of being trapped, or to get out of these traditional roles. And I knew And I know that I'm the first woman in my lineage doing that. And I am traveling the world right now. I live as a digital nomad. I'm as free as a bird. I can be wherever I want to be, with whoever I want to be. I can do my own thing. I'm the most free and happy that I've ever been in my life. And I think I really broke the cycle. But yeah, I've seen a lot of women in my surroundings when I was little, starting with my mother, but also the mothers of friends of me, but also more societal or cultural. I have seen a lot of women suffer under the norms of the patriarchy that we are living in, right? The man-centered world and universe that we are living in. We all are being conditioned from a very young age to center men and to work around them and to see them as the center of the universe and to listen to their leadership, to their stories of what it means to be a human, to their version of history, to their religions, to their rules, to their norms, to their punishment, to everything that was built and created by man for man. And again, I think that we all are victims, in a sense, of this centering man and women. So again, it's not about hating man or blaming them at all. It's just an observation. When I look at the society that we are living in, we live in a very man-centered, patriarchal world. And this doesn't have to be a bad thing. It's just that a lot of men in power have done very bad things with their power. And more, it came to this point that we just started to live in a story of reality, a version, a paradigm of reality with gender roles, with norms, with this is how it means to be a human being, with the conventional family as the center, how do you say that, as the anchor of society, with capitalism, with competition, with hierarchy, with domination and suppression, with racism, with oppression, etc. And we have all been growing up in this society and in these stories of reality and in these truths or beliefs about what it means to be a human being. And there are also very strict rules and thoughts and beliefs about what it means to be a man in that system, and also what it means to be a woman. And if you do not conform to those norms and those rules, you are being shamed, rejected, ridiculed, mocked, blamed, abandoned, etc., called hysterical, as if you have a psychological disorder, etc. So from a very young age, I have seen this happening, and I felt like I do not belong in that story. That is not my story. But of course, I was conditioned to belong in that story. And I really was a very vulnerable little girl with inside the family home a lot of trauma and chaos, and outside a lot of bullying if I did not conform to what was normal as a little child. So in that vulnerability, I decided, you know what, I'm going to adapt to this society and I'm going to try to fit in. Right? But I never felt I belonged, but I'm going to try to fit in. I'm going to try to live up to that image of what it means to be a woman. And as a little girl, we are being sexualized already from a very young age, which is really, really sad. It touches my heart how much innocence gets lost as a little girl because of the sexualization of your body and of your existence. And in another sense, little boys are conditioned from a very young age to only look at women and girls as objects and as almost they serve you in your purpose and in your desire and in your lust. So there's a whole different story for men, how they are being conditioned to this very binary being, very narrow, flat, on lust-based being, which I also find very, very heartbreaking and is also really stealing the innocence of boys, like having no emotions, being tough, being the fighter, being the protector, not being able to be vulnerable, etc., etc. So We can talk about that also for hours, but I want to focus on the women part, or my story of decentering men or decentering patriarchy, right? So as a little girl, you're losing your innocence very fast, and you learn very fast that your body is an object, that you are here to serve man, that you are here to center man, and that you have to do your best every day from a very young age to look a certain way so that you are being suitable to wed, right? In some way. And we are really, let's say we are really being conditioned to make sure that every man likes you. In some way, that is the ultimate goal of the female, of the feminine. And with a lot of focus already from a very young age on your appearance, on your body, on some kind of beauty standard. And there's always a new beauty standard, but that there always is a beauty standard, and you have to conform to that, the beauty standard, and you have to make sure that you get as close as you can to that beauty standard, because then you are safe or whatever in some way. And probably this idea comes from a long time ago. It's not even a very long time, but from the period that women weren't allowed to have their own bank accounts, right? That women weren't allowed to vote, to own their own homes, to own their own cars, etc. That women were a property of man, and that man made the decisions and had all the ownership of all the material wealth. And so I can imagine that if we live in a society where that is still the case, that as a woman, it is very essential, if you cannot change the society and the system at once, it is very essential that you make sure that you are suitable to wed, and that is your survival, right? That's your safety net. But we still, while that is not the case anymore, we still carry that conditioning and that collective trauma with us. So in a way, we are still being conditioned to appear in such a way, conform to beauty standards, etc. It is your survival, your safety net, and it is your way to get your needs met and to get the things that you need. And that is something very interesting when I will talk about the shadow side of it all later, that as a woman, we are really being taught that manipulation and covertly getting your needs met is safer than directly asking for it. So these are already two things that we learn from a very young age as a little girl: to center men, to serve them, and to make sure that you conform to certain beauty standards so that you are suitable to wed, so that you will be respected or seen or loved, and so that you will survive or get your needs met in a way. And as a little girl, and when you get into puberty and young adolescence, you learn that if you just keep on conforming to those beauty standards, if you just keep on trying, that one day some prince will come to save you, right? So there's a lot of powerlessness actually that is being taught to girls from a very young age. Like, you cannot live and survive on your own. You need a man to survive. And this is very individual, right? For an individual woman or a girl, that is the conditioning and that is what is being taught. But this is also societal, almost more collective, right? We all learn that male leaders outside of us, our presidents, our bosses, our managers, those people in power are coming to save me, and I'm dependent on them for my survival, and I'm in this power dynamic with them. I'm in this codependent relationship with them. This is what our society is doing to us. It is making us codependent on the system, codependent on the people in power. And this is the power dynamics that we're continuously playing day in, day out, and there's a lot of collective trauma on this power dynamic. But that is also food for another video. So decentering men doesn't mean from today on, I'm never going to be in contact with men anymore, or I'm not going to like them, or I'm going to hate them, I'm going to push them away. Not at all. I'm like in a very beautiful relationship and connection with a man, but also with men in general. So it's not that at all. It's just that you learn as a woman in how many ways you are being conditioned to give your power away to man, to give your sexuality away to man, because you believe you have to give it to them. You have to serve the needs of man, carrying the emotional labor for men, not ever raising your voice, setting boundaries, saying no. Decentering man means taking your power back, taking your center back, taking your responsibility back, taking back the idea that you cannot survive on your own, or you need man to survive, or you need to give your power away, you need to be submissive so you get what you want. Decentering man means letting go of external validation, not playing games anymore, not using your sexual energy anymore, your manipulative energy anymore to get what you want, being honest, being truthful, being trustworthy, being integer, being respectful towards yourself and towards others. So it's not playing games anymore. It's about decentering others and projecting that what you need and your helplessness out into the world, but taking it all back and taking radical responsibility for your life and your choices and your behavior and your growth and your development in some way. Decentering man also means that you find your inner wisdom, your truth, your knowledge, your intuition, and that you dare to listen to that, and that you dare to speak it, that you do not please anymore out of unsafety, out of shame, out of the fear that someone will reject you or abandon you or get angry with you. Decentering man means decentering patriarchy, decentering old conditionings of what it means to be a woman or a man. Decentering man means becoming a free human being, a free woman in her power, listening to her intuitive wisdom and not giving her power away anymore, not get all attached to man and their wisdom and their power anymore, not lean on them anymore, but get into an equal partnership with them, taking radical responsibility, healing the father wound, healing the mother wound inside of you, healing the parental wounds living inside of you, the attachment wounds, the relational trauma that is living inside of you, and not asking subconsciously and covertly anymore from man or your partner or your leader or your boss or your manager to fulfill the needs that you had in your childhood but that were never met. Decentering man means I'm not going to let man be responsible for my worthiness, for my confidence, for my courage. I'm going to take matters into my own hands, and I'm going to take radical responsibility for loving myself, for respecting myself. Decentering man means not trying to flirt with them, knowing they are in a partnership, but you only flirt with them because you want the validation and you do not really want something with them. Decentering man means respecting yourself as a woman, respecting other women, respecting women in general. Decentering man means looking at a woman and finally seeing also her and thus yourself as a complete, beautiful, worthy human being capable of reaching anything that she sets her mind to. It is listening to women speak, finding women role models. Decentering man means that you really play yourself or set yourself or cut yourself free from the matrix, the system, the patriarchal system that we are living in. And you're saying, no, not anymore. I do not play along anymore with those games. I choose not to be dependent anymore on a system that was never built for me as a woman to thrive. I choose to create my own path, my own system, my own wealth, my own abundance in a sense. Decentering man means letting go of beauty standards that deep down inside you are really, really hurting yourself with in a way and in a sense. It is letting go of beauty standards of mainstream society. It is letting go of the idea of what it means to be a woman and really become your own sovereign, autonomous woman, in a sense. It is choosing what you want to wear, what you like, what you think is beautiful. I mean, as a woman, we come from a lot of trauma on speaking up, on carving your own path, on making your own choices. I mean, it wasn't even possible for a very, very, very long time. And a lot of women and men really abused that power they had over other women in this case, but a lot of men also abused their power they had over a lot of other men. So that's why I always say we're both victims of the patriarchy, of the hierarchical system we are living in, the oppressive system we are living in. But for a woman, it was really, for a long time, it wasn't possible to speak up and to carve your own path, because it truly was life-threatening. It wasn't safe. So there's a lot of trauma on speaking up, carving your own path, manifesting yourself, taking up space, being direct. There's so much conditioning around all of that. And these systems, yes, we see them outside of ourselves, and it's good that as feminists, for example, or whatever people fighting for human rights, that they point that out into the world. But the true change happens is when we take a deep dive inside and understand that all these systems that we see outside of ourselves are also living inside of ourselves. So decentering man really for me means decentering patriarchy inside of me. So I had to let go of the sexualization, to use my sexual energy to get what I want, my manipulation, my covertly getting my needs met through the manipulation and using the sexual energy. I really had to tend to the wounds that were living inside of me, my mother wound, for example. And I really had to learn how that wound was still leaking outside in the world, and how I was still trying to get the external validation through all kinds of ways, and how I used the system we are living in and the patriarchal system, my sexual energy, etc., the pleasing, to get those needs met. It wasn't authentic. It wasn't true to who I truly was. It wasn't integer. And most of all, it was really, really hurting my essence, my authentic self. I was really abandoning myself continuously for that external validation. And I was leaving the truth that was living inside of me. I was telling myself continuously, by doing that, by using all those mechanisms to get the external validation, and by believing that I was dependent on man, on patriarchy, on the systems around me to survive and to walk my path and to succeed in some way, I was really hurting myself by believing that. Like my inner child, or my essence, who I truly am, was bleeding because of that. She was screaming almost from the inside out, please listen to me, please follow my path, please take this freedom. But I was still busy with tending my wounds, with trying to fill the gap that I felt inside of myself, with trying to put a bandage on the mother wound that I had, for example, by centering man in my life. And I strongly believe that men are also the victim of centering man, of the patriarchy, of the system that we are living in, of the oppressive ideas and conditioning that we are being raised with already from a very young age, and the gender norms. And I mean, men are so hurt by, already from a very young age, to toughen up, to not have emotions, to, as I said, be this very flat human being, only here to follow your lust and to use the world around you to get that. I think that's very disrespectful towards men. I think they are so much more than that. So much more than that. They have so much creative, intuitive wisdom and energy. They have so much to tell and share and to, how do you say that, to manifest in this world. And if we both fire the other gender for being responsible for filling the gap that we feel that was left by the patriarchy that we are living in, and there is an opening for a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful co-creation between women and men. And I think it will really help men also to decenter man, to decenter patriarchy, to take their responsibility back, to not be submissive to men higher in the hierarchy, and to trust that they have best intentions with them, and to trust that they will do it for them, but to really take that responsibility to really heal their own wounds, their father wounds, their mother wounds, and to really understand that they also are in this codependent relationship with the society and the systems that we are living in. And to find their inner truth, their inner nature, their inner rich intuitive wisdom, their creative energy, their power, their warrior energy in a sense, and to really stand up for what is right and to start with creating the new. I really think that if men decenter man, they will finally learn that it is allowed to have emotions. It is allowed to feel and to be sensitive. It will even make you a better man and a better leader if you could align those two inside the cognition and the intuition and emotions inside of yourself. It will make you very centered, grounded, confident, wise. You will learn so much more of what it means to be a man. But this also means that you let go of external validation of women, that you see women only as objects to get something from, that you are entitled to be served by the rest of the world. It really asks of you to also dive into the shadow side of the masculine energy or man, and how patriarchy is serving you, and where you are still not wanting to let go of that because it is still serving you. It asks of you to really courageously carve your own path and to go through all the shame that you have inside of you, and to really understand who you truly are, who your authentic self is, and to give expression to that, and to really stand in that and face rejection, face abandonment. It's a huge journey. And letting go of, or decentering man also is letting go of ego or competition in a way, the greed, always wanting more, the entitlement, and this desire to want to own everything, for example. So that's a whole different journey than for the woman, of course. But decentering man, decentering patriarchy, decentering leaders as the ones that are here to save you, and still projecting your mother and your father issues onto partners, leaders, politicians, bosses, managers, your children, really creates more suffering, and this codependent relationship with all of that is continuing, and these destructive cycles that we are in are repeating itself over and over again, until we finally dare to say, no, not anymore, I will step out of it. But to do that, we have to travel inwards. I had to understand that I was using others to get my needs met. Sometimes subconsciously, sometimes consciously, but covertly. I know that my people-pleasing has a good intention, but I also know I use it often to get what I need or what I want. And it's innocent, but still, there's so much relational trauma because of the society we are living in. If we want to transform that relational trauma, we have to understand where we are contributing to that relational trauma. It asks of us as women to fully step into our power and to overcome our fear of speaking up, to overcome our fear of standing in our power, to overcome our fear of saying no, setting boundaries, speaking our truth, to overcome our fear of being rejected, being abandoned, to overcome the fear of aggression from others if we step into our power. It really is a journey to decenter man and to take back your power and to take back the center and to say, from today on, I'm going to listen to myself. I'm going to listen to the truth that is living inside of me, and I am going to commit myself to only express what is true to me and to live up to that. And I'm going to discover in what kind of shadowy, dark ways I'm still trying to get my needs met. I'm still trying to heal my wounds from my past through others. I'm going to understand in this power dynamic with man that I'm in what my contribution to this power dynamic is. And that is making myself small, submit myself, please, manipulate to be safe and to get what I want and need from the other, which is not from respect, integrity, truth, and honesty, but from fear, from scarcity, from the idea that I'm a powerless human being and I need others to survive. It's from this codependent relationship with man, with the system we are living in, and with life in general. It's our conditioning. And if we become aware of that, we can take back the power and we can meet man equal. And we can call them out on their shit. We can say no if it doesn't feel right to us. We can leave situations because I am firing man from the responsibility that I put on them to tend for me, to serve me in a way, and to heal my father or my mother wound. And for man, it's the same. Where are you still benefiting from this power dynamic? Where have you been taught that a woman is less than you are? Where have you been taught that you know better, that you are wiser, that you are the one who knows it all and that you have to teach her? Where have you been taught that you are here to be served by the rest of the world? Where have you been taught that all the women you meet in your life should be your mother? And all kinds of other different ways. Discover that and meet women in equal. Go discover how powerful women are. Go and be interested in their ways of living, their perspective. They are so wise and they need you to see that. And also take full responsibility for the wounds that you have and not use women anymore and your lust and your sexual energy to just penetrate them and feel fulfilled for a little while. Start with respecting women. Start seeing women as a whole human being. Stop trying to objectify certain women and stop trying to make holy women of other women. It's not correct. And I know that when I got to know this concept of decentering man or decentering patriarchy, it was a big answer for me to what I was looking for. Like, I was looking for breaking free from the system that I was living in, and I knew how to do it physically and spiritually, but now there was this layer of almost mentally or emotionally that I had to break free from, and that was external validation seeking. I will make a different video on how to let go of external validation seeking, because it's not only tied to patriarchy or gender roles or norms, and there's more to it. But the essence, the core was to let go of external validation seeking, to let go of that. And that freed me in such a fucking beautiful way, I wanted to say. I feel so intensely, thoroughly free because I'm not dependent anymore on the outside world to validate my existence. And as a woman, we are so being taught and conditioned that men have to validate your existence, and men have to validate your wisdom or what you are doing. Men have to pay you for it. Men have to validate you and give you a spot at the table. Men are in power and decide your destiny. And if you are being conditioned and grow up in such a world, it is very logical that you learn to tend to men and to serve them and to make sure that you are being seen and validated by them because it's your survival. But now I'm asking of you, and that is my journey of decentering man, is to take radical responsibility, to take that responsibility back and to start with creating a world where this is not necessary anymore, where you're not dependent anymore to get a seat at the table of man. And we have our own part in that to play as women in that power dynamic. And that is letting go of beauty standards, letting go of manipulation tactics, taking back your power. And, I did that by a lot of things. I really first closed my sexual energy off for a while. I didn't use it anymore to be seen and validated by men. I really closed it off. I really had to do that first in order for me to later understand how to use it better. But that was a part of me. So closing the sexual energy off, but also not dressing anymore according to the male gaze, the beauty standards. I started to dress and choose colors and clothes that I really liked, that my inner child was so happy she could finally wear again. I started to grow my body hair as an experiment, and I never shaved it again because I really, really love it. I find it so beautiful, the body hair. It's so beautiful to be a woman. I love it so much, and this natural way of being a woman, it's beautiful. I stopped wearing makeup already years ago. I just started experimenting and exposing myself to the world, not anymore according to the male gaze, but just maybe even anti the male gaze, just on purpose at the beginning. And I felt so free. I felt so empowered. I felt so rich, and my connections, my relationships became even more beautiful and more balanced and more equal. And I really have the idea that is what decentering man means. And maybe it's not even about man, right? Maybe it's taking ownership, taking radical responsibility for your life and your wounds and your pain, not projecting that out into the world, but freeing yourself from the hope that your pain or your wounds will go away by man, or by a prince that will come and save you, or by a leader or a politician or your boss or your manager that finally will give you the promotion if you just, etc. It's freeing yourself from this codependent relationship and becoming more in an interdependent relationship with the world. And it is centering and grounding you so much, giving you so much confidence and courage and so much love for yourself, so much respect, so much wisdom. It's a beautiful journey. I think I can talk about it for hours, and there's so much more to say. You can be so free. You can play yourself so free from the society that we are, from the cultural conditioning, from shame. Often it's shame. I mean, the first day that I walked with my hair under my armpits through Amsterdam, for example. Sometimes I'm in Amsterdam because I'm from the Netherlands. I walked through Amsterdam and I had all these thoughts like, oh no, people will look at my hair, they will think it's disgusting, or what will they think of me? Now no man will ever like me anymore. All these thoughts. It was such an interesting experiment. I mean, I would encourage you to do this experiment as a man and a woman, to break these conditionings and to go through shame. And to let go of cultural conditioning and all the thoughts you have, because that in the end is where true freedom lies. True freedom lies within. Breaking free from all the systems, the cycles, the trauma, the shame, the stories from within, and playing yourself free, taking radical responsibility. So I've been talking a lot about this for now. I've already been talking for an hour. So I have to edit this video, and I hope it's a little bit clear what I mean with decentering man. If not, please ask your questions below this video. Maybe you need some exercises or help with that. Let me know. My platform Beyond Psychology is completely focused on the awakening and healing journey, helping you transform and empower yourself, break free from traumatic relational cycles, breaking free from the old, stepping into the new, and creating the visions, the dreams that you have inside yourself. Manifest yourself, listen to your intuitive wisdom, and start with living and thriving instead of surviving.